if with all the cartoony stuff I'm doing, with all the... You're always going to overdo things just a little bit when you're voice acting because you only have the voice to show your emotion. I mean, they have the animation, but sometimes that's not quite enough. And whereas with film acting or theater acting, you have the rest of your physicality. So you can tone back the voice a little bit. And I'm sort of afraid if I did theater now, if I would be like way over the top.
A question over here.
Yeah, what's it like when you work with people like Vic Mignogna and Chris Patton from like Ireland?
Well, because we work individually, like we never really get to work alongside them.
Unless you're directing.
Unless you're directing, which I've not directed either one of them, I don't think. But both of them are a lot of fun to pick on. I have a lot of fun making fun of both of them. Especially Chris. But we do see each other, like we'll run into each other at Funimation, and I see Vic up there all the time, or I'll see Chris at AUB. But unfortunately, I haven't gotten to work like together.
I've obviously directed both of them in Fullmetal Alchemist and Kodacha, etc. And they're both actually really, really perfectionists. So there's a reason that you love them, and you love their work. And it's because when they come in, they want everything to be perfect, and they will do it over and over again. Actually, Vic has just tireless energy. He just wants to get it right, and he doesn't care how long it takes. And if he can sense any little bit of dissatisfaction, he's not moving on. So, yeah, I love working with him.
Why do you have fun here?
Were you into anime before you decided to do voice acting?
I don't know that I would call myself an anime fan, but my little brother was a huge anime fan. My family is from Spain, and we would go visit every summer, and he didn't speak Spanish well enough to understand Dragon Ball. So I had to sit there and translate for him in all the different voices. That was my intro voice acting. And then he started getting into more adult things like, Akira, Ghost in the Shell, stuff that I was like, oh, I like this. Not that I didn't like Dragon Ball, it was great, whatever. Just not my thing. But then when he started getting into the other stuff, I was like, oh, and I started becoming really interested and started watching and found that I really enjoyed it. I did not know the popularity of it. I had no idea that there were conventions. I had no idea that there was this massive amount of it. I just thought it was this cool thing everyone came on.
I actually had never heard of anime. I was probably the only person that I knew who had never heard of anime when I got into it, and they pulled me up to the studio and threw me in the booth, and I was like, "You guys have big eyes." And I sort of started getting into it. Fruits Basket was my first show that I watched on my own at home and had no involvement. I just was like, and I watched it all the way through. And then my roommate, Laura Bailey, is the one who got me into it. She plays Toru Honda in Fruits Basket. Any number of things, Lust and Fullmetal Alchemist, and she and I would go we watched all of Kodacha. I don't know if you guys have that show, but it's 102 episodes. We watched the whole thing in one weekend. And we were pretty obsessive about it too. Like we had one bump disc that was like, there was a little bump on it, and so it wouldn't work in her PlayStation 2, which is how we were watching it. And so there were the two of us with a little nail file, like filing it down. Don't get the information. Just be careful. Okay, let's try it again. And if you tipped it just right, we just wanted to see them kiss.
A question right down the back here.
Have you ever felt like you've been typecast in the voices that you do in anime that you've done?
Another good question. These are good questions, you guys. It's really hot in here.
Yes. There was a period in time where I played quiet little girls. I did a show called Dasaraki, I played a quiet little girl. I played a show called The Girl, played a quiet little girl. And then there was a while where it was all girls, obviously. That's what I get called in to do. And I'm not slamming it, because little girls have paid for my car, and I'm not slamming little girls. But it is fun to get the chance to do, like, an Inverse Angel. I got to play Joe, which is this very deep voice character. And from that, there was Vanessa in Trinity Blood, and what else? Oh, and then Dante in Fullmetal Alchemist. So, like, things like that, it just makes it more exciting when you get to play something that's not a little girl.
lovely image of you slamming little girls. When I first started, I think everybody thought that I was not going to be around for very long because this was my voice, and I did my voice over and over again. I had no character voices. I had no idea. They asked me to do a little character voice, and the only thing I could do was the Slimer, the Meatwad voice. That was it. And so I had to teach myself methodically because I was, I'll be damned if I was going back to waitressing. So I just taught myself, and Laura helped me, and I figured out how people were doing boy voices, and I figured out, how to make my voice a little bit younger, and I figured out finally that I could do the lower voiced women, and that's something that we had at Jertham. At Funimation, we didn't have very many people who could do older women voices. So that I don't get typecast anymore, but I did in the beginning. But we're always afraid. We're always afraid that the more you run out of voices, the more voices you do, the more those people have heard those voices. So we're always afraid we're not going to get cast anymore after a while because they're going to need new voices.
Got a cute girl down there.
I have two questions. The first one is that, have you ever played double-sided characters where it has a really high voice in one scene and then a really low voice in another? And then the second question is there another character that you've ever played that's really close to your own personality?
Oh, good question. First of all, closest to my personality, has anybody seen Angelic Later? Okay, I play a character named Tamayo who might as well just be me. Like, she beats up on boys, she's constantly yelling, it's totally my voice. She announces when she has to go to the restroom, I mean, it's totally me. And as far as playing opposite, has anybody seen Najima? Okay, there's a couple. I played 3 girls in that show. I played Konika, Kazumi, and Satsuki. She only had like 3 lines. I can't remember her name. Satsuki. Okay, and so Konika and Kazumi in one episode actually they were co-anchoring like a contest that they had in this haunted house. So I had to talk to myself. And one of the voices was really, really high, and Konika kind of talks like this, and then Kazumi was like way down here, and she kind of has a Valley Girl thing going on. So I had to go through and do one character and then do the other character talking to myself. It was very bizarre.
Totally fun. Totally recall.
But it was totally weird.
I actually played Eclair in Kitty Grade, and at some point they cloned her, so she's got a million clones, and all of them had to have a different voice. So that was one character with a lot of different voices. And then, as far as a character that's close to my own personality, I shouldn't be saying this because she's kind of a jerk. The character Rose Anderson in Salty Ray is just my voice, and she is kind of a jerk, but also fun. And I felt very close to her every time I said a line. You're asking me the first one?
In the front here.
Another question for Monica. When you were recording Rial, and there was a special soap opera episode, had you actually finished filming the series when you were doing that?
No, actually, he's talking about on Noir, there's a special Easter egg. There's quite a few Easter eggs on those where you had to wear these really black. Well, thank you guys for coming.
You guys are awesome.
Guys.
Thanks.
Please say thank you to Colleen.